If you looked at a black hole, what you'd really be seeing is the event horizon. Anything that crosses the event horizon needs to be traveling faster than the speed of light to escape. In other words, it's impossible. So we just see a black sphere reflecting nothing. But if the event horizon is the black part, what is the whole part of the black hole?
Yeah, that seems like a good point to jump into the show!
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you, my friends, have the information you need to watch what you want, where you want, when you want, on whatever device you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and I now have an itching curiosity to know what the whole part is. If only we had the author of that segment of In a Nutshell.
There's a salve for that itch.
What?
And he's here.
No! Oh my gosh, it's Fraser Cain!
Hey guys, back on the Cordkillers.
Heck yeah, dude. Thank you so much for joining us again, and congratulations on that thing released, what, like a week ago? It's already at 1.5 million views?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, yeah. Yeah, it's phenomenal. What an amazing channel. I'm a huge fan of the In a Nutshell series, and we featured them on Universe Today whenever they do something space related. And I got to be pretty good friends with Philip, who does them, and he said, "Oh, writing scripts is just such a pain." And I'm like, "Well, I happen to be a writer who writes a lot about space, so I'll kick a script your way." And so he said, "Do black holes, please." And so I did that, and now it's a thing. But I wrote it back in August, actually, so it takes a while. Apparently, animation is more difficult than writing words on a keyboard.
Does he have like a particular voiceover artist that he just goes to for that stuff?
Yeah. So he has the same narrator that does all of those videos.
And Brian wants to kill the narrator and take his job, I think. Is that
Dude, you do not want to hear me be like, I don't know, it's like the holes are black, and then it's like they grab stuff, they're all like a
They say nothing can get out of it. No, you just read the words Fraser wrote, that's all.
Yeah, I pitched script and I'll do the voiceover, and he said, no, script is fine.
It's like, we're good. That guy has a pretty sweet voice, I have to admit.
Yeah.
Not as much as I would rather hear Fraser. Well, we are here to talk some cord cutting, and we are going to start with the primary target. The target of our observations, in case you're new to the show.
Correct.
Reed Hastings gonna be giving a keynote at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. He is a regular now at CES. It's kind of a changing of the guard, Brian. Like it used to be, you'd have Bill Gates and Cisco's CEO and Intel CEO, and you still have Intel CEO. But now Intel CEO opens the thing. He's the Bill Gates, and then you get people like Volkswagen. That's going to be an interesting one. GM and Netflix and YouTube's Robert Kyncl is going to be there. Not the CEO, but the head of content, which I think is interesting. And Samsung is going to be there. So we're getting a lot more of things relevant to cord cutter use. Samsung has a lot of TVs to announce for people that are smart TVs. Obviously, YouTube and Netflix fit right in there. There's a couple of articles about Netflix in the past couple of weeks as well. It's been a couple of weeks since we did Cordkillers. James McNabb over on Medium has a post noting that 3 of the top 5 rated series on Rotten Tomatoes currently are Netflix series, Making a Murder, Jessica Jones, and Master of None, and that 2 of the 5 are Amazon, Man in the High Castle, and Transparent. But Julia Greenberg over at Wired points out, well, sure, Netflix and Amazon are leading the case there, but other companies are starting to catch on. She's pointing out that Hulu is acquiring shows that Netflix won't now. Hulu's doing originals, CBS All Access. Disney even has launched services in China and the UK. So I guess the question is, what is the future of Netflix? Will they just become all originals and give up on giving us acquired programming? Or will there be a huge fight over getting production companies to make shows once the Hollywood bigwigs start throwing money that way?
I'll tell you what, that was a big question, 3 or 4 years ago when they were first announcing this strategy. But I got to tell you, now that we have seen what Netflix can deliver, and yes, they're not the actual producers, but they are the money folks who decide this is what we want, and you have to hit this standard of quality. Now that we've seen what they can produce, I can't see any benefit to them fighting with old Hollywood about their old Hollywood established properties, especially when they could just barge in and redefine what's possible in these genre-breaking shows with quality that's through the roof. I got to tell you, if I'm on team, don't even worry about those guys, Netflix. You now are the new HBO. fill in some back catalogs and stuff. I mean, of course, there are a number of shows that you're going to want to see. It's annoying to me that my 3-year-old is still watching the same old reruns of Scooby-Doo because we bought one season on Amazon. But, I'd like to see some of those properties on there. But whatever they're doing, I say don't let it rattle you. Don't worry about hunting down big wigs or big winners from old Hollywood.
But what if old Hollywood starts to outbid you? What if they start to do like what CBS is doing with putting Star Trek on CBS All Access? It starts driving up the price. Fraser, I mean, do you think that Netflix could be priced out of the market?
No. I mean, all they need to do is provide a good enough service that I'm willing to pay $9.99 Canadian a month. $11.99. I got to, whatever that takes. So I mean, if they deliver a few shows every couple of months, plus they have all the back catalog they have access to, I think that's like they're in the game. And then the question is, can they make it good enough? And I'm sure that's the goal, that you don't want to really care about anything else that isn't going to deliver as, if you have to cut back everything and all you're left with is Netflix. That's what they would love you to do.
I gotta tell you, we're I don't want to. I'd say 70% of the way there. I mean, if you factor the kids in, the kids almost exclusively like to live in the Netflix ecosystem, and in fact, they're discovering Netflix originals. Like, I walked down and they're watching the new Mr. Peabody and Sherman show, and I'm like, "What's this?" They're like, "Oh, it's a new Netflix original. We're giving it a try. It's pretty good." And it's like, this is television to anyone under 15 from now on.
Yeah, I think the two questions are, can Netflix keep up the quality, both on the being able to afford to pay for it front, but also just on keeping up the quality front? It's not a given that you just continue to get quality. But also, if Netflix moves towards becoming a service that mostly just has its own stuff as they build up this big back catalog of originals and they make fewer and fewer deals like Brian's suggesting, is that a Netflix that you'll still get as much value out of?
But it's not about it's not about competition, right? I mean, all of the other providers, all of the other television stations, maybe they're competing with each other and they think they're competitors to Netflix. But I don't think Netflix really sees it that way. Like, they just need to get you to pay your $9.99 a month. And that's it.
Yeah.
And so the question is like, how much content does it have to provide to me to the point that I say, yeah, it's worth $9.99 a month.
This is the other thing,
month, right?
This is the other thing. All of the old Hollywood players have to go through a very convoluted way, because what they have to do is they have to make the viewers just happy enough that they stick around so that they have the numbers, but who they really have to satisfy are the advertisers. And the advertisers don't want controversial content. They don't want anything that's going to make their product look bad. They don't want people, none of this subject, none of that subject. It's got to be this demographic or whatever. And by pleasing two masters, you get that very bland, old school Hollywood stuff. We saw a big leap forward when HBO says, no, what we're going to do is win Emmys and have your reputation for some of the best content out there. And now we're seeing it advance to the next degree where Netflix has nobody to answer for except for the algorithm, because they have all the data. They know exactly at what point audiences are turning off episodes. And I guarantee you we're going to start seeing A/B tests where it's like, congratulations, you're going to get to watch Orange is the New Black a week early. Watch it. And then meanwhile, there'll be two different versions that go out and we'll see which edit plays better. And then that will cause them to create the best possible version that will elicit the most positive responses.
What about this though? What if when Disney starts catching on and says, yeah, okay, the deal's up, Netflix, we're going to launch a Disney channel now, so you don't get any of our content. We're also going to have people pay for it. As Colbert in the chat room put it, if everybody's doing originals, nobody can have everything. And they're like, we're not going to do ads. We're going to make high quality programming. HBO's doing it with HBO Now. And suddenly you've got lots of different competitors doing exactly the same thing that Netflix is doing.
Well, yeah, but that's inevitable. I mean, that has to be inevitable. Right, that
seems
Netflix
to be like
works,
what the new,
and so as you said,
what
Disney's going to figure it out, and others are going to figure it out, and then people who can't afford to run their own app or their own, streaming service are going to get aggregated into other ones, and it's going to sort itself out downstream. And I think you're absolutely right. That's the way it's going to go. But being able to only, as you said, Brian, only serve the audience and just get paid directly from the audience, what a beautiful thing that is. I mean, I'm a content provider. a big chunk of my money comes from advertising and a chunk comes from Patreon. Wouldn't it be great that you could just serve the end user and not have to worry about that other master?
Yeah, I tell you, I do believe it's inevitable that everybody will have their own independent, the complete balkanization of all of this territory. But we're also seeing the I don't know, the re-conglomeration of everything. For example, with Amazon now making it available, like, hey man, you want to get Acorn, you want to get Showtime. That's what's going to be, is everything's going to explode apart into its individual elements, and then they're all going to recombine as molecules. See, I could do your space stuff too. Something about fusion and iron. How about that?
Perfect.
Yeah, all spacey and scienced inside, like Patreon.
Did you miss the segue? I already gave you the segue. Did you
I know.
miss it?
I tried to pick up that segue, but then Brian had too good a metaphor.
I was too excited. Sorry.
But no. As Fraser so perspicaciously pointed out, it's awesome to be able to do content that only answers to you, the viewer and/or listener.
Yes, or in this case, 1,934 of you, he says, as he gets caught drinking water mid-sentence. Sorry.
I mean, and if people don't like that, they'll withdraw their support. If not, we'll keep doing it.
If people, if you thought that was funny,
for supporting the show,
we'll send out 2 versions, an A, B, and we'll see which one tests better. No, thank you so much to nearly 2,000 of you guys. Boy, it would be great if we crossed over that 2,000 threshold. If you want to do something better in 2016, if you're making New Year's resolutions, why don't you pledge to throw us a few pennies, maybe a quarter, a buck an episode would change our life. You probably would never even notice the charge. What is that, $4 a month? $4 a month, you could do that, and we'll keep
ask
you.
Ask yourself, is this show worth $4
a month?
Yeah.
Anyway, patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's get up to 2,000 patrons. Thanks, guys.
And then we'll move on to signals intelligence, but not until you've given us $1.
Okay, well, that's going to take a while. No. He actually paused it.
Okay.
He was like, I'll hold it back. I'll make you wait.
My $1's in, guys. I've already donated.
We don't worry about piracy of this show. We want you to distribute this show as far and wide as possible. But other companies don't have that same opinion. So it's always interesting to see what the most pirated shows of the year are. And Torrent Freak never disappoints. They put out their latest list. Now, this is just torrents. They're not able to look at the drive sharing and other ways of distributing things without authorization. But for 4 years running, Game of Thrones, the most torrented show on the internet, 14.4 million downloads, followed by Walking Dead, Big Bang Theory with 6.9 and 4.4 million respectively. Also up there in the top 10, Arrow, The Flash, Mr. Robot, Vikings, Supergirl, The Blacklist, which is interesting to me, and Suits. Also, most popular, still 480p. Although HD versions are getting more and more popular, most people just want to get that quick, fast 480p copy for mobile, I guess.
Well, and keep in mind also, the type of people who are going to be most likely to be BitTorrenting are going to be younger people who maybe are less patient, who maybe...
What's The Blacklist?
Well, I mean, or whoever, I don't know. But I don't know. At the risk of profiling, I'm going to guess...
I think you're right.
I'm going to guess that the BitTorrenting crowd are people who are extremely price sensitive, who are not quality sensitive. That's the whole reason they're doing BitTorrent, is because they'd rather see it in low definition for free than pay 1 red cent in order to get it.
Well, that's the thing, is they're not price sensitive. They're very price sensitive as far as torrents go and the price of bandwidth, et cetera. But actually, they usually spend more on average on legitimate media than non-torrenters.
Interesting.
Kids don't torrent anymore.
What's that?
They stream. The kids don't torrent anymore. They stream.
I would love to know if torrenting is falling down as far as video
aging.
content.
Yeah. They go to Google, they type Game of Thrones streaming, and then they watch the new episode.
Yeah. No, it's true. And all kidding aside, the Blacklist showing up on here does show an aging torrent audience, I have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right. I think people who learned to torrent in the 2000s probably still torrent, but that's an audience that's getting older. And again, most of the studies show that when your show does well in torrenting, it actually does well in real life too. So it's not a question of, oh, these people would have spent this money. on the product. It's more about being the advanced man and saying, oh my gosh, you guys have to watch this. And the person who doesn't want to mess with torrents and deal with that goes and subscribes to HBO Now.
So here's what's surprising is that this is the year that we saw HBO Now premiere. This is the first time I watched Game of Thrones entirely not on a borrowed HBO Go account, but instead an HBO Now account. I had previously touted my theory that, a large part of the piracy of Game of Thrones has to do with the artificial black market that HBO created. There was no legitimate way to get your Game of Thrones fix unless you stole someone else's HBO Go password. Now I don't have that excuse, and I don't know how fast people are adopting HBO Now, but I think it's fascinating that still it doesn't appear to have affected anything. They're still as crazy as ever to pirate this thing.
Did you notice there was no Netflix shows on that list?
Yeah, right? That's the funny part is once it's all on Pandora, why would you bother, once it's available on Spotify, why would you bother to go find an MP3 somewhere?
Right.
Well,
So the point is that Netflix has cracked it. Netflix has made the stuff available in a way that has the price that you want, that has the quality of the content that you want, where it's available around the world so we can all watch it simultaneously. So they've cracked it.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to pirate it.
When you undercut the very reason to do any piracy, it's like nobody wants to maintain a giant library of crap if you could just have a library of everything and have it available all the time. And yes, I understand some places are bandwidth, restricted, but by and large, we're entering that world now.
What's interesting is a lot of people just set up search terms and have the torrents automatically downloaded into their Plex server and whatever. I think that could explain Game of Thrones continuing to be popular, even with HBO Now. I'd be curious to know how many people were torrenting Game of Thrones and also paying for HBO Now so that they could easily watch it in other places that maybe they didn't have Plex available.
And I'll tell you what, I totally believe that in an age where, HBO Now is still new and fresh and untested, unproven, I could totally imagine it's like, well, I'm not going to stop doing my old thing. But, because the moment this doesn't give me, because, I've had hiccups with HBO Now and had times that it keeps freezing up midway. I could understand, being intolerant of that. And
in fact, the only new shows on here are Mr. Robot and Supergirl. Both of which very difficult to get in any other way. Mr. Robot started by being easy to get, but remember 4 episodes in, suddenly you had to have a cable subscription.
Yep, and I ended up paying for all of them, and I would imagine, especially for Mr. Robot that so smartly courts that tech-savvy audience, to give it for free for 4 episodes and then say, now pay us, now subscribe. It's like, well, if I'm a fan of Mr. Robot and I dig how tech smart it is, I know the one place where I can get it right now in very high quality.
All right, let's move on and gear up. Our segment about the gear you use to watch.
Yeah.
The Consumer Electronics Show is about to get underway in Las Vegas. Announcements are already coming fast and furious. Next week, we will cover all the big announcements. But in advance, one big announcement, Roku is doing 4K TVs this spring from TCL. That is, I think it's a Chinese maker that will have Roku's OS running it in 4K. So there'll be a 4K channel on there to help you find other 4K apps or channels, as they call them on Roku. And Roku's also putting out a reference design for high dynamic range. It's the HDR version that uses 4K resolution but enhances the colors. And usually HDR is what the audio or the video files really rave about. They're working with Dolby on that, so you might see some TVs before the end of the year have Roku's HDR apps on it, competing with Samsung and LG, and of course Android TV. I'm of mixed feelings about this, Brian, because I think 4K is finally here. We're starting to see content for it, and I think it's smart for Roku to have an OS that can be on TVs and to go for the more affordable end of TVs because they can't get the Samsungs to work. But I still don't really want my OS in the television.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a win for Roku, no doubt about that. This gives Roku a level of legitimacy that they could only dream of 5 years ago. Coming baked into the box, Roku has made strong inroads into the non-tech audiences out there. I've mentioned my in-laws got a Roku box or whatever. I think a lot of other people have that. It's a known brand for streaming stuff and coming baked in rather than, the Samsung video player or whatever. To have that Roku name, I think, is value. I'm with you, though, Tom. It's like my guess is, here's what I say. Go ahead, get a television with it. just expect that you're going to buy some other damn box to plug in 3 years from now, because there's no way 3 years from now that thing's going to still be satisfying you.
But you saw that the TV shows that are being BitTorrented are the 480, the low res versions, right? That all the manufacturers want us to get 4K TVs, and the streaming boxes will be 4K TVs. But the reality is the content isn't there yet. I mean, I pay for the I pay for the $11.99 Netflix that gives me the 4K, and the only thing I can see 4K on is my MacBook Retina.
One of the smallest
content.
screens in your house, I'm suspecting.
Yeah, exactly. There's just that content isn't there. So I'm not going to buy a 4K TV, and then if I'm not going to buy a 4K TV, I'm not going to buy a Roku 4K. So I'm just going to wait until that content is solidly at that resolution before I even drop the money on a TV.
It will be there. I mean, Netflix has 4K, Amazon has 4K, YouTube has 4K. Even some cable companies are starting to deliver 4K. So yeah, this is not something, I'm with you. I'm not buying a 4K TV yet either, but I think Roku is smart to start laying the groundwork for this, for when the Fraser Cains and Tom Merritts of the world finally go, oh, okay, there's enough 4K content out there, like maybe sometime next year or the year after, that there's plenty of TVs with that Roku option for us to consider.
Just feels binary right now. It's either I can watch it or I can't watch it. And then if I can watch it, then it's in a resolution. I don't, as long as it's not awful, the resolution doesn't really matter. But if I can't watch it, then I'm just sad.
And we've talked about the fact that you go to the movie theater, you're most likely seeing a 2K projection, which means it's slightly better than 1080, right? You're watching essentially a standard high definition television at the movie theater. So, 4K I don't think is going to be a huge push with audience. From what I've heard, and I still have not laid eyes on one, but HDR seems like a different animal. It's a novel new dimension added to it that really, really pops, and I look forward to checking that out.
No, I think you're right. HDR is the one that's going to make people say, ooh, that looks pretty. Whereas 4K just seems like, oh, that's a bigger screen.
4K, I could see somebody looking at it and saying, so this is 4K? Like the mere fact that you have to ask means it's not going to be that impressive pop, which will not be the case with HDR.
Yeah,
right,
but
folks,
do they have anything that isn't just some sunset or some view of a castle in a mountain, or
that's the way it all starts, man. It's
someone
I
scuba
used to
diving.
love Discovery HD Theater.
Yeah.
With the cows grazing in a beautiful meadow.
We were talking about it. You could watch this happen again. Full disclosure, Justin and I we hosted a bunch of virtual reality videos that are going to be available on the Discovery VR app later this month. But as we were talking about it, right now most of the content is just places, not a lot of personalities. They just recently released one with the Mythbusters, but that's exactly, it's the same script, right? You get this new technology, nobody knows what to do with it, so they just get something that showcases it, and people who buy the thing want to see it showcased, so they're like, check this out, and they're like, wow, I'm in the forest. And then and we're hopefully entering an age where personalities and stories start to fill everything out.
Oh, well, Oculus Rift, just shut up and take my money.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. The pre-orders are going on in the next couple of days, so.
Absolutely. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, Brian, what's up?
I was going to bed last night, and I was just like, Tom has such a beautiful face, and he's all the way on the other half of the planet in Hawaii having a good time, and I just want to talk to him. I just want to hear his thoughts and dreams. I was like, what does he imagine the future would be like? What stories does he have to tell? But then I realized that I'd never get to hear any of them, and so I cried myself to sleep.
Well, you could read my book, Citadel 32.
I'm sorry. You wrote books?
Well, yeah. In fact, I'm sorry. That's why I was a little distracted there when you first clicked over to me, because I'm in Kindle Direct right now, lowering the price of Citadel 32 from $3.99 to $2.99 for the ebook. Whoa!
So
Yeah. So if you got an Amazon gift certificate you got for the holidays or something, and you're thinking like, hey, I'd like a story about the future of the human race, maybe people trapped on the moon after a collapse on Earth, Citadel 32, it's right there. And if you see it for $3.99, just give it a minute, because I just lowered it just the second to $2.99.
Dude, has this been picked up by Netflix yet?
Not yet, Fraser. I'm still waiting for that call, but I'm hopeful.
I'll watch that.
By the way, that's crazy. That's the kind of thing that can happen. If these sell enough, you could be dealing with those. You could be making those kinds of deals.
Yeah. And so now I just realized I have to go update my book site, TomMerrittBooks.com, to reflect the new $2.99 Amazon Kindle price. But yeah, it's a science fiction story I wrote. It's got a cover by Scott Johnson. So yeah, if it sounds cool, go check it out. Maybe it'll turn into a Netflix series someday.
That is awesome.
Again, that's what they're doing. Expanse.
Yeah. Oh
We're
man,
next.
The Expanse is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, is that the new sci-fi one?
Yeah, it's the one based on the James S.A. Corey books on Sci-Fi. And they were smart. They put out the first 4 episodes on iTunes subscription. You had to buy them, but you got them before they aired, so you could watch them over the break.
Triple smart, dude. That's amazing. Shall we saunter on over to those front lines?
I suppose we should. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheerio.
Frontlines!
So Yahoo has shut down Yahoo Screen, the home for all its original video content. Like, I don't know, Community. Video will now show up in Yahoo's digital magazine properties, which we're guessing you didn't know existed, but they do. That's where Katie Couric will do her news now.
Did you see Other Space? It was great.
Oh, yeah. I watched a couple episodes of that. It was pretty good.
We've talked about it on The Lookout, too.
Stick with it, and it's fantastic. Funnier and funnier as it goes along.
I can't wait to figure out how I will find the other episodes now that there's no
can't.
more Yahoo Screen.
Yeah, it's gone.
I mean, I assume you'll just go to yahoo.com and then type in the thing that you want. I'm sure if you type in Community, the first hit has to be, those episodes.
They
I mean, it won't be impossible to find, but it's like Netflix or Hulu saying, we're just going to get rid of it. I guess Netflix and Hulu don't have anywhere else to go, and Yahoo does, but it seems like they couldn't decide whether it should be YouTube or Netflix, and so they just got rid of it.
Yeah, what a bummer. Hey man, Samsung introduced a new smart control remote that could control all the devices hooked up to a Samsung TV. The system automatically recognizes connected devices and lets users switch between them easily in an on-screen interface. You could do things like search across devices or add favorites to a home screen. I love this. Out of everything I just read, my favorite phrase is automatically recognizes connected devices, because that's the one thing, as much as I loved my Harmony remote when I was rocking it, just that pure, it's like, well, let's take an hour to just log in all my devices and get it all figured out. I love the idea of just plug and play on this. Fraser, would you buy a TV based on that?
This is the babysitter solution?
Yes.
Right? Where you can just hand this one remote to the babysitter and say, it should all work now for you? Sure, yeah. I mean, like on the list of things, technical problems that it just stuns me haven't been solved, right? You've got routers, you've got printers, and you've got remote controls. So if Samsung wants to take one of those out, awesome.
Yeah, I was of two minds of this thing when it came out. At first, I was like, I have to buy a Samsung TV. That's horrible. Yeah, I could just get a universal remote and do the same thing. But yeah, the idea, and you'd have to have the TV doing it. The idea that it can automatically recognize the devices and put everything universal search, like just knowing you wouldn't have to do any setup like you would with a Harmony remote. That's pretty appealing.
Keep in mind also, this is the kind of thing that that can grow, right? It's like it could grow with the ecosystem. Just whatever box you buy, it solves the problem rather than trying to put the Roku inside the television. Just let the television recognize each new Roku as it comes out.
I just want to see more television manufacturers do this so I don't have to buy a Samsung. Although I have a Samsung TV.
Dude, I'll reward them. I like my Samsung TV.
Yeah.
But
I want choice. I don't want to have to buy anything. David Fincher and Charlize Theron will executive produce a new show for Netflix called Mindhunter. It's a crime drama, but it's based on a true story. The 1996 book Mindhunter, inside the FBI's elite serial crime unit, which was written by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker. So it's not like Serial or the Murderer series in that it's not actual documentary, but it's dramatization. But it's based on, it's kind of like a real life X-Files based on a real life story. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, man. All I know is that Netflix makes hits, and I like David Fincher, and I trust that Charlize Theron will not do a bad job.
She won an Oscar for Monster, which was based on a true crime story. So seems legit.
Fraser, I'm tempted to almost. I feel if my response is underwhelming, it's only because like at this point it's like, is it a headline anymore? Netflix makes a hit.
Once again, Netflix is giving you more reasons to not cancel that service every month.
Yeah, man. Hey, George R. R. Martin has written on his live journal that the book Winds of Winter is still months away from being completed, meaning it will not come out before season 6 of the HBO series. I think I speak for most of fandom when I say, take your time, George. Take as long as you want.
Here's the thing. I'm not surprised. George R. R. Martin sounds surprised. He sounds disappointed in himself. And I want to tell George R. R. Martin, who's not going to watch this, don't feel bad.
All right, buddy. It's hard. Writing's hard.
Yeah.
It takes time.
And I would rather you do a good job than to rush it out.
Yeah, sure. Or do a bad job. I mean, just do whatever kind of, you know what, go on another pizza crawl. Go watch your NFL. Blog about whether your team's winning. It's fine. It's great.
Whatever you do, though, make sure you take a look at the scripts that are coming out of HBO and kick them a few plot notes.
This is a weird place.
Time for that.
Yeah.
This is a weird place where the video version of this world is so good that it's like it is the definitive telling of this story in my heart, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Why don't they get Alan Dean Foster to write the adaptation of the TV show?
That would be amazing if, in the meantime,
because he's done all the Star Wars.
Take your time. We know it's going to be a different story. People are still alive in your books that are dead in the show, and vice versa. We're just going to have Alan Dean Foster not do novelizations.
The novel will be 1/8 the size of the actual
from the beginning and just novelize them all.
Dude, now I am a huge fan of the books. I can't wait for the books to come out. I'm a little bit leery of having the story told to me first on television than the books, and that's just me. I know Brian has the opposite opinion, but I am okay with this because I would rather the books be really good, and I'm at least going to get some Game of Thrones, really high quality Game of Thrones from HBO in the meantime.
Heck,
I got halfway through book 4 and just said, I've had enough.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
So, see, I don't mind the writing. I don't mind the kind of expansive writing style. It's just that, the television show does such a good job. I'm perfectly satisfied with it.
All right. Speaking of television shows, we watch them. That's one of the reasons we do this show. So let's see what's been under our surveillance.
All about location. Under surveillance.
In fact, we're going to start off with Ayaz Akhtar from CNET telling us some of the new things that are appearing in January.
Hey there, Cordkillers. Looks like the best stuff streaming online in January won't be on Netflix. Crackle's got Monty Python's And Now for Something Completely Different, and Season 1 of the underrated animated show The Critic, streaming starting on January 1st. 80s kids, get excited. Amazon Prime will have the original Thundercats series, Volumes 1 and 2, so that should be lots and lots of episodes starting on the 1st of January. Sesame Street, the Season 46 premiere, hits HBO Now on January 16th. Hulu will have the return of The X-Files starting on January 25th. Also check out Tubi TV. That's TUBITV.com. It'll have Judd Apatow's Freaks and Geeks starting January 28th, and it's free. For more information on what's streaming online, I highly suggest you check out cnet.com/netpicks. I'm Ayaz, and I'll see you later.
Hey, we'll see Ayaz later. We're going to get him back on Cordkillers pretty soon.
Yeah.
So go check that out. Judd Apatow series Love will premiere on Netflix February 19th. If you're looking for something a little farther off in advance, they've got a kind of a teaser out. It's just a bunch of New Year's resolutions in a row. Doesn't tell you much about the story. But it's apparently going to be about a guy who breaks up with his girlfriend and moves into an apartment complex inhabited mostly by people who are college age. And it's got the girl from Community in it, the blonde-haired girl. What's her name?
On
Gillian Jacobs.
Thank you. Yes, that's who it is. Also, Werner Herzog's documentary Lo and Behold will be premiering January 23rd at Sundance. Fraser, you put this in here, and it's a telling of the story of the internet by Werner Herzog.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. It's quite interesting. All right, so what have we been watching? Brian, over the break.
Yeah, I finally caught that Fargo finale. We didn't talk about it on our last episode because we had Star Wars fever, so we'll talk about that in spoiler in time. Also watched all of Making a Murderer and almost all of Master of None, both of which I would love to talk about in spoiler in time.
I have not watched any of Making a Murderer, but I did watch Master of None and loved it.
I've seen them all too.
Oh,
okay,
right
good.
on. Cool.
We could
Do 'em all.
spoil them.
Hey, I don't mind being spoiled on Making a Murderer.
Yeah.
It's a true story, after all. I was watching very little television over the break because I was on vacation, but I did watch the Christmas episode of Doctor Who, which had River Song come back. That much is in the trailer, so I'm not making a big spoiler there. I found it satisfying. It was not the best Christmas episode they've done, but I liked how they filled in a nice big empty spot in the lore for Doctor Who there. Also watched the Sherlock special episode, which was the throwback to the Victorian times. And they did a twist to it that if I had known was coming, would have hated, but not knowing it was coming was okay. So I don't want to say any more there. And then last night, as we were just trying to wind down and go to sleep, we watched 2 episodes of Transparent, episodes 2 and 3. And man, it just gets more tear-jerking and awesome the more I watch of this season 2.
So very, very human. I absolutely adore Transparent.
And it's doing kind of an emotional version of George R.R. Martin, where it doesn't kill characters, but they'll set up something that you love, like a relationship or something that's happening between 2 people, and you're like, oh, I'm so happy for them, or I love that this little dynamic has been created, and then tear it apart.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Fraser, what about you?
So on your suggestion, I started watching The Expanse, which I am just loving to pieces, and now I want to go get the books. So that's a thing. And then the other thing that I've been watching, which ended up being my favorite show, I think, of the last year, which is a show called The Detectorists.
The
I don't know if you've seen this. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Maybe it's only in Canada. I'm not sure, but it's a BBC thing, and it's about 2 guys that do metal detecting and it's a drama, and it's so good. It's just this adorable show. It's like the stakes are so low, but they're there. And so season 1, there's season 2, and they just did a Christmas special, and it is my favorite show. The wife and I just fell in love with the show, and I highly recommend you give that a chance.
Right on.
What else did I watch? Oh, Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Yeah, I hear great things about that. That was the only one that I hadn't heard or really said anything about on that list of the top 10
Rotten Tomatoes stuff, yeah,
exactly. That's
so good. It's so good.
Awesome.
It's pretty boring, but it is so good.
I've only not been
It's
watching
so
it
funny.
because I don't have time to add another awesome show to my list. But
They're
it sounds
short.
like I need to
They're
make
only
time for
they're
this one.
22 minutes. You
That
can
helps.
make it fit. It's waffle thin.
Yeah. Just a
Waffle thin.
small slice of ash. What's on the lookout, Bryce?
Oh, hey, so I have been just got back from holiday, and I found a little show that I had seen commercials for on Hulu called The Wrong Mans. Have you guys seen like the commercials for this?
I think I heard the title. We might have mentioned it at some point.
So this is a little older. This is a BBC and Hulu co-production, and it's one of their older originals. It's about these 2 men who get sort of wrapped up into this action hostage sort of kidnapping plot. From the 2 episodes that I saw today, I would say that if you liked the increasingly poor decisions of Todd Margaret, this is a very similar tone in terms of dark humor, farce, and mixing action with well-written conversation moments. So that's the Wrong Mans on Hulu. They've got 2 seasons out now. I don't actually know the status of a 3rd season. But apparently there's a big change up with when season 2 comes up. So I definitely recommend it.
Interesting.
Do check it out, folks. All right, let's get some dispatches from the front. Those are
And
emails.
be sure they're fresh.
Fresh emails.
Yes, only the freshest of dispatches, straight from the front.
Tom wrote us and said, Netflix just released a special episode of Marco Polo. Wait, don't delete this message so fast. This is probably the best episode of Marco Polo yet. It's all about 100 Eyes and Kublai Khan. We told you that this was coming, and they met. Marco Polo doesn't appear at all.
I mean, I didn't hate the guy Marco Polo. I just didn't see why he was in the show.
Now we don't need to see him in the show at all.
So here's the question, Tom. I snuck this in during the show to ask you, like, are we gonna pinky swear that we'll watch this? And
yes,
and
we should do this.
Okay, we'll jump in.
We should do this one more time.
Just
Why not?
Marco Polo. Why can't we quit you? Hey man, Happy New Year, Tom and Brian. Adam says, like you guys, I was pleasantly surprised when the MPAA launched wheretowatch.com last year. The site looked good and was fairly comprehensive and easy to use. Imagine my surprise then when 2 weeks ago I went back to the site to search for some holiday movies and Netflix was no longer showing up in the search results. I double checked and sure enough, Netflix has been completely removed from the site. I know there are several alternatives, but I was curious if you guys had heard anything about this or if you had any thoughts or insights. I actually don't. Tom, I'm sure you are furiously double checking right now as I speak.
No, I don't have any insight. I was actually looking to see where you get Ash versus Evil Dead.
Okay,
but
those are solid priorities.
No, I don't know why they would have removed Netflix. So if anybody knows about this, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com, because that just seems like maybe it's a fight where Netflix cut off the access to the database or the API, or maybe it's not even a fight. Maybe they just changed the API and MPA hasn't figured out how to reaccess it.
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
I definitely just typed in Marco Polo and it does not give you any results on that one.
Yeah, that's a weird one, though. Thanks for letting us know about that, Adam. Andy in Taylor, Texas said, finally cutting the cord for the third and hopefully final time. This time, I think it might actually take. I've had similar issues as Tom with the spouse not quite being ready before. We've had a Chromecast for a while. She doesn't really like having to rely on her phone to work the TV, though. But now we've got an Apple TV, and she's loving it, especially the new remote. I unhooked the cable box for a week before we had our Uverse TV service disconnected, and we never missed it. We can get all of our shows on Netflix, Hulu, and the network TV apps. Plus, we already have a small library of movies in iTunes. Even my 8-year-old loves it because she can watch her YouTube stuff on it. So my suggestion, if you have a reluctant spouse or family member, is the new Apple TV.
Right on. I love this idea of, I'm not going to say that you should be so devious as to maybe intentionally unplug your cable box. And then when your significant other asks, hey, the cable box isn't working. You're like, yeah, I'm not sure what's up with it. I know you can get it through this. Just use this box and get it. Just see how long that works before they go nuts. And then maybe you can pull off your mask and say, ha, you've been cord cutted the whole week long. How did it feel?
Yeah, I didn't do that. But what I would do is use the TiVo with over the air to watch a show instead of DirecTV on purpose. When I go, I'll turn it on, or find it on Hulu, or just kind of easing in the habit, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think the next one's you.
Yeah, man. Jeff says, and this is a perfect face for radio in the chat. He says, hey, Brian and Tom, I'm collecting as much current and updated information as I can to include in a revised, updated version of the Cord Cutter's Guide to Motorsports that I've posted the last couple of years and the Cordkillers Reddit. I'm not even sure how many in the Cordkillers family know about it, but before I post the update, I'm looking for any feedback you or any viewers have. Open to feedback on how I could possibly improve the formatting, organization, or any information that I'm missing. The good news, many more options are becoming available. The bad news is it's getting unruly to keep it all organized. So anyone wishing to give feedback can just drop me a note on the Reddit at perfectface4radio. That's the number 4. And we should remind everyone that we have a Reddit up. If you go to reddit.com/r/cordkillers, you could join the revolution and see some fantastic articles posted right here in the community.
Someone in the chat room pointed out, where do you get Ash versus Evil Dead? If you're a cord cutter, you can subscribe to Stars through Amazon Prime.
Oh, that's right. Now you can get the bundlings.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So there's your way to do it. Aaron wrote in that it occurred to him as he was listening to a recent episode of Cordkillers on Dogcatcher how perfect podcast consumption is compared with television shows. Aaron says, I don't watch a ton of movies and they don't really apply to this concept. Do you ever think that watching series will ever approach the convenience and simplicity of consuming podcasts? And yeah, I would like to see that as well. There is a similar feel when you subscribe to a season pass in iTunes or Vudu or something like that, where you can just launch the app or in iTunes case, you turn on Apple TV, and it shows you like, hey, new episode of Haven is here, new episode of Fargo is here, and you can just kind of, it feels like podcasts. But I would like more services to be avowedly like that. I would like Netflix to let you like simply, I don't know, like be able to get the next episodes exactly in the right order rather than the bar system that they have now.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like one of the problems I have with Netflix is like, I want to know what's new. Like I want to know what's been newly added in the last little while. And often it doesn't change for sometimes a week at a time. So it just seems like it's the same shows. So I never assume that anything until they release another big show.
Yeah.
It would be great. And I'm sure they could move into something, you know, obviously they can't release all 50 episodes of Cordkillers onto Netflix on the same day and then wait a year and then release another 50, right? But so for the kinds of shows that do show up on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, they should come up with a way to be able to do that. YouTube's figured it out mostly. It would be great to go to Netflix or those kinds of streaming shows to just see the stuff that's new today and watch some of that.
Yeah, because that little new badge
it's
that
bottomless.
shows
The stuff
up
they
is
could add.
inconsistent.
Well, here's the important question. Where do people go if they want to see more of your beautiful face?
Me?
Yeah.
So obviously I am the publisher of Universe Today. So you can go to universetoday.com. And the thing that I'm very proud of is our YouTube channel, although we've been offline for the last couple of weeks, thanks to the holidays. But yeah, you should totally subscribe. And so we're going to be back with some all new episodes of our Guide to Space. We're up to 230 episodes of that now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we put out 2 every week, but we took a big break over the Christmas, and we'll be back probably next week with some new episodes. We've got 2 fills that we just put in. One, how do you pronounce the 7th planet from the sun? And a Star Trek transporter, suicide booth, or transportation device.
It's definitely
like
a suicide booth, man.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
a good conversation. So again, is it youtube.com/
Just search for Universe Today. I think
Just
it's either / Universe Today.
Excellent.
But
Go check
it might
out.
be Fraser Cain. I'm not sure.
It looks like you can use
Either one.
/universe today.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
Go subscribe. You
Yeah.
won't regret
there you
it.
go. Yeah. /user /Universe Today.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, usually 4 p.m. Pacific. Brian, we cut all the cords. What do we do now?
We're going to Disneyland. Hey guys, Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But that's
Unless
pretty
you just
much
want to see who they are.
it. Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
Let's go.
up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.